Viewers, some Hindus have always felt that their group interests in this country have never got a fair hearing. They will tell you how the state has closed the door on pleas demanding that temples be freed from state control. They will tell you that their personal laws have been codified in the exception. They will tell you how every other religion and the adherents of that religion are allowed, viewers. They will tell you to practice according to their customs. They will tell you that the courts have never entertained pleas to give justice to Kashmiri Hindus who are the victims of a genocide. They will point out that the Kanchi seer was arrested in 2004 on Diwali night in Congress ruled Andhra on the orders of the High Court. They will tell you, viewers, that only Hindu godmen are depicted and portrayed as villains in movies, in TV series, and of course, in web serials. They will point out how godmen from other religions, even in the newspapers, are never cast in a villainous light. And this notion of bias against Hindus was further fed a few days ago when the Madras High Court decided to order the police to carry out a search in the premises of the Isha Ashram, the Isha Foundation, founded by one of the most prominent Sanatan Dharma spiritual leaders, the Sadhguru. You can see him on the right of your screens. The High Court directive came on the back of a petition filed before it alleging that Sadhguru had imprisoned women. Yes, imprisoned women in his ashram against their wishes. Not just that, but the High Court was also made some sharp observations against Sadhguru, saying that, and I quote, "We want to know why a person who had given his daughter in marriage and made her settle well in life is encouraging the daughters of others to tonsure their heads and live the life of a hermitess. That is the doubt," unquote. Sadhguru, left shaken by a police search and the potential damage to his image, approached the Supreme Court, seeking a stay on the High Court's directive. The Supreme Court provided him immediate relief, and it said, and let me quote, "The police shall not take further action in pursuance of the High Court directions." The Chief Justice of India himself says you can't let the army or the police into an institution like this. He went on to say, judicial officer will visit the premises and gather details linked to the case. The investigation into this matter should continue. Case shall be transferred to the Supreme Court from the Madras High Court. The status report of the police shall be submitted to the Supreme Court. Viewers, before the Supreme Court's intervention, the High Court had pulled out all the stops against Sadhguru, clearing the way for the DNK state government to step in. The Madras High Court issued in Habeas corpus petition by retired Professor S. Kamraj. Kamraj claims his daughter, aged 42 and 39, were brainwashed, his words not mine, to stay at the Isha Centre in Coimbatore. Kamraj alleges that the Isha Foundation drugged his daughters and forced them to cut ties with their family. Kamraj's petition also mentions POCSO case against a doctor working at the foundation. Kamraj informed the court of criminal cases and sexual harassment cases against Isha Foundation. The Madras High Court directed authorities to provide details on the criminal cases against Isha Foundation. The action of the Tamil Nadu police that sent a posse of hundreds of policemen, as if Sadhguru was a terrorist and his ashram a terror factory, led the BJP and several others to accuse the DMK government of not just being prejudiced against the Hindu faith, but also against a prominent face of the Sanatana community. The DMK hit back, saying it was only following High Court's directions. But that view may take some convincing, because the DMK has been on a Sanatana slander spree for a while now. And let me just talk you through some of these instances. A Raja of the DMK, who's the leader, said Sanatan Dharma is like leprosy and AIDS. Udaynidhi Stalin, the present Deputy Chief Minister, elevated, viewers, after he made a statement of this quality that even got him trouble with the courts. He said Sanatan Dharma is like dengue and malaria and it should be eradicated. K. Ponmuri, DMK leader, said India bloc was formed to fight Sanatana. R. Rajiv Gandhi, DMK leader, said if we listened to Periyar, we wouldn't have had to struggle with Brahmins for justice and equality, unquote. Periyar himself said there is no God, and he was anti-Brahminical. No crime in that, but this is what he said. He who invented God is a fool. He who propagates God is a scoundrel, unquote. Now viewers, what is going on here? Is it true that there is a problem against Sadhguru just because he stands in the way of a large swath of evangelists who are trying to convert people in the same area where his foundation is located, that he is the bulwark and that's why people have to bring him down? That's what some people are saying, viewers. Is this an extension of the attack on Sanatan Dharma? You attack the faith and you also attack the face. Is that the reason? Let's have a conversation. Mukul Rohatgi, the former Attorney General of India and representing Isha Foundation in the Supreme Court, joins us. Deepak, lawyer of the Supreme Court, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court, is here with us. We will also have other guests joining us, but let me first begin with you, Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, and these are questions that sometimes need to be asked. Now, I want to ask you, the High Court, what did you make really of the High Court's intervention 2 or 3 days back? It made certain comments. In court, you argued that the High Court needed to be a lot more circumspect. In fact, that's also what the Attorney General said. What did you mean by this, sir?
See, Rahul, you have to see how the case arises. Now, the case arose on a petition filed by the father of two mature, intelligent, well-educated women who are today 35 and 42 years of age, who have been living in the ashram for the last more than 10 years. They have recently become, some years ago, they become monks. They live like monks, they've renounced the world, etc. Now, the father went to the High Court saying that they've been kept against their will in the ashram. So it was a petition for Habeas corpus, which really means produce the body or the person against whom there is an allegation of being kept in such confinement. Now, these ladies appeared physically before the High Court and made a statement clearly that they were not in confinement, not being held against their will, they have been living there of their own free will, etc. The moment that is done, the High Court loses all jurisdiction in the matter and the matter ought to be closed. But the problem was that the father made all kinds of wild allegations against the ashram and against the management, that many such people are being kept against their will, etc., etc. There are a lot of criminal cases, etc., etc. The High Court did not verify any such statement. There was no material in support of those statements. And on the first date of hearing, without any opportunity whatsoever, the High Court made sweeping remarks and directed the police to go and start investigating. That was an unprecedented situation where 150 to 200 policemen march into somebody's ashram, could be a house, could be a hostel, and start inquiries without any real basis. It's a violation of privacy, it's a violation of freedoms, it's a violation of religious freedoms. That is why we moved the Supreme Court immediately. And that is how I told the court that the High Court's order was entirely beyond all norms of reasonableness.
Okay, so the High Court, to paraphrase you, was very sweeping in its observation, saying that, Sadhguru, what kind of a person he is, he's given his daughter in marriage and made her settle well in life, but he's encouraging the daughters of others to turn into monks, etc. How did the High Court conclude all of this?
This is what I'm telling you, Rahul. Just because somebody says something in court, that is not gospel. It has to be tested by an opportunity to the other side. Then the court looks at it and then takes a deliberate, conscious view. Just because somebody comes and makes an allegation, that doesn't mean that the allegation is proved. And these are very serious allegations.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, even if it is true, if Sadhguru's daughter got married, somebody who's living in Sadhguru's ashram decides to become a monk, I mean, is it Sadhguru's fault or what? People renounce world, people renounce material possessions. You remember that book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari?
Yeah.
You look at Jainism, the maximum, I mean, what I have seen, the Jains have a very, very severe religious practices. They renounce, they walk barefoot, they don't speak for hours, they don't wear clothes, not hours, days, Maun Vrats. So these are matters of religious freedoms, religious, aspects, how people feel. How can you blame somebody? And that too, my biggest grievance is the High Court could not have done all this in a petition for habeas corpus, which comes to an end when the persons who are complained of, who are supposed to have been detained, they are produced and they speak of their own volition. Every day, habeas corpus petitions are taken up by all high courts where a husband goes to court and says, my wife has been detained by her parents. They're not allowing my wife to come, or brother is not allowing. So the court orders, please produce. A statement is recorded. If the court is satisfied that the statement is voluntary, the matter comes to an end. So really speaking, it was completely wrong, unwarranted, what the High Court did. And it sends ripples across the society. I mean, tomorrow, if these kind of things are done and allowed to be done by a High Court, unchecked, unverified allegations, this can create havoc in a society. That is why we were very eager, and the court was gracious enough to take up the matter at the stage of mentioning itself without a formal listing, etc.
Yeah, I mean,
Because for the last 2 days, police was roaming around in the campus.
why do you think? Why do you think? What do you think, Mr. Rohatgi, is the reason why the High Court was not circumspect?
I can't tell you the reason, but it seems to me that the High Court got carried away. That's all I can say, because there's no material. And mind you, Rahul, one more very important feature. This was history repeating itself, because in 2016, the mother had filed a similar identical petition that the daughters were being then detained.
I see.
Against their will. The daughters again appeared in court in 2016. The High Court looked at everything. It called for a report. It looked at the police, gave a report and all that. And after a full detailed hearing where the husband actually argued the case in person on behalf of his wife, and by a 6-7 page order, the High Court dismissed the petition. I mean, keeping all that in view, the High Court somehow, with great respect to the High Court, the High Court also has very seasoned judges, and this was a division bench. Obviously, the senior judge would have been a judge of 8-10 years experience. I think they just got carried away, is all I can say.
Now,
I do not impute any motive to the High Court. Sometimes these things happen.
The Chief Justice of India then said that, are the two women present? Are the two monks present? And you said yes, they were in fact ready to speak, and one of them was then taken, in fact, to the chamber at the back, or there was a private exchange between the Chief Justice and this monk. Now, what happened there? What did the monk say to the Chief Justice?
Yes, so let me tell you. You see, first, they were asked to be joined on the VC screen when we were all in court. So there was a problem with the connection, but one of the two women came on, and she clearly stated that her educational qualification, the Chief Justice asked, what was it? She said she's an engineer and that she had been living here for years, etc., of her own free will. Then the bench thought it fit to speak to the two sisters in the chambers of the Honorable Chief Justice, so that conversation was not visible to us in open court on the screen.
Right.
So they retired to the chambers, and they came back after 10 minutes. And the Chief Justice said that they had interacted with both the ladies, and that they were mature and intelligent, and they clearly stated that they are living on their own accord, and they do not wish at all to go out of the ashram. And in fact, in my hearing, at the time when they spoke
Yes.
on the VC in open court, one of them clearly said that they were being harassed by their father.
How shocking.
I mean, I don't know how far the word harassment is correct, maybe in extreme form, but the fact remains that they were living in the ashram, as millions of people do across the country,
Yeah, that is true.
voluntarily, that they were living and they were happy. That's the end of the matter.
Now, before I let you go, Mr. Rohatgi, just a final question. The Supreme Court has directed police to hand over the status report. Now, why has this been done?
Yeah, so see, what happened was I had prayed for a stay upon the order of the High Court, but some part of the order had worked itself out, inasmuch as the police had already visited the ashram, etc. And I was asking for a stay, which is kind of after the event. And I wanted a stay of all further proceedings, because according to me, the petition did not survive any further after the damage was done. So the court passed an order exercising the power of transfer. They transferred the case from the High Court to the Supreme Court itself.
Wow, okay.
So once that happens, then there's nothing before the High Court anyway. So High Court then can't pass any order. And the High Court had asked the police to submit a status report after they go and interact with the, ashram inmates and all that.
Yeah.
So that report was to be furnished to the High Court. Now that the matter is in the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice said that the report should be furnished to the Supreme Court. Because there's nothing left with the High Court now.
So thank you, Mr. Rastogi. Fundamentally now, viewers, it's the Supreme Court that has taken charge. And as it appears very clearly, it's not very pleased with how things transpired. So I want to bring in, thank you, Mr. Rohatgi, thank you for joining us. We've heard that perspective, that is the Isha Foundation perspective, and the lawyer that got the relief for the Isha Foundation in the Supreme Court. But let me bring you in now, Jesai Deepak. What do you make of the Madras High Court directive that seemed quite strident?
See, I genuinely don't know what to make of it, for the simple reason that I didn't know that as far as India is concerned, which has been a destination for spiritual seekers from across the world, it is somehow problematic for young women to want to be spiritual seekers and choose a celibate life over the household life, so to speak, or the house of Grihasthashram. Okay. So I am just surprised at the turn of events. And I'm also surprised at the speed with which the ashram was raided. And why would you need 150 to 200 police officials to visit a place? This is not a terrorist, for God's sakes. This is a place where people from all over the world visit to seek spiritual solace. So I am slightly surprised at the circumstances and the speed with which each of these things has happened. And if I didn't know better, perhaps I would say from a slightly distant point of view, that this appears to be a move to destroy the reputation of that organization on the part of the government.
Prejudice. And what basis are you implying prejudice?
See, first of all, we are in Navratri, and so close to such an important event, or so close to such an important occasion for Hindus. Why would you want to send police officials into an ashram, which admittedly, or at least on the face of it, subscribes to Hindu philosophy, right? What message are you exactly sending? Would you have done this to, let's say, any other spiritual seeker from any other religious faith? So the timing of it, the manner in which this was done, the wide publicity that was given to it, all of this somehow gives the distinct impression that there is something else, according to me, as far as the state government is concerned. I am not imputing motives to any constitutional body. I'm merely saying that the state government has unfortunately taken an undue interest in this organization. And maybe there are a couple of reasons for it. One, you see, the region that his ashram is based out of has seen significant decline in religious conversions to conversions outside of the Hindu fold, predominantly because of his presence. Because I know, I've studied in that city, I know how, let's say, there are activities of certain organizations, evangelical groups, which were keen to convert into their fold a lot of tribal, uh, and that has been stemmed significantly because of this organization's contribution to it.
Okay.
And two, Sadhguru's own statements and position with respect to freeing temples from state control, that too in a sensitive state such as Tamil Nadu, where temples actually get the rough end of the stick from the government, regardless of whoever is in power, may have attracted some attention. But as a citizen of this country, he was entitled to make the statements that he did. He's entitled to open an ashram, inviting people to speak spiritual enlightenment.
True.
And I don't think age is a limit there. For God's sakes, in this country, we have traditions where even minors take to spiritual traditions, and they choose a life of celibacy over everything else. So I'm just slightly surprised, and the vehemence with which this seems to have been undertaken by the state government tells me that perhaps there is more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, the DMK will say that it's acted on High Court orders. That's what it's been saying to us also. But you suggest that its actions are malign. Now, can you elaborate on this?
I think at least for the last 1 year, we've been seeing a lot of anti-Sanatana statements being issued by the top honchos of the DMK, and the current deputy chief minister of DMK has taken the lead in that. So when he becomes the deputy chief minister, and then in close succession, you see an action being taken against such a prominent organization which is based out of Tamil Nadu, which is, for all practical purposes, espousing the cause of Hinduism or Hindu values in that sense. So it's very difficult to not connect these two events. And three, Sadhguru, I think, see, I must also confess that I am not a member of his following, in the sense I'm not let's say I'm not a member of his organization in any way. I have other mathas and traditional organizations that I subscribe to. Nevertheless, I believe that anybody who supports the cause of Hinduism and espouses it in a peaceful way, in a constitutional way, in a legal way, and in a way that is completely non-confrontational, must be allowed to do so, because after all, he is exercising his rights under Articles 25 and specifically even free speech under 19. So the action of the state government, given its historical record of cracking down on Hindu organizations and the speed with which it has done, the manner in which it has gone about it, I would simply ask myself a simple question. Do you imagine the DMK government, let's say, using such a heavy-handed approach, even if under the orders of a court,
Okay.
to arrest a religious figure or a spiritual figure of any other faith system other than Hinduism? I dare say that would be a no. Surely it's not the High Court which said you go out in this fashion. It's one thing to carry out investigation, but it's another to send 150 to 200 people into the ashram when you need not have done that. Is this the best way in which investigation could have been carried out without maligning the reputation of the organization? The High Court has only ordered investigation. I am not going to get in the merits of the case because that's sub judice. It's not for me to say anything on that.
Yeah.
But did the High Court say that this is the manner in which you should conduct it? The manner of execution would have warranted some degree of temperance, some degree of responsibility on the part of the state government, because it is stepping into the shoes of, or rather, it's stepping into the territory of religion. And since religion is a big deal as far as Bharat is concerned, and we know how religious sentiments are respected across the board except Hindu sentiments, I must say that the conduct of the state government of Tamil Nadu, under the garb of complying with the Madras High Court's order, is frankly a mischievous exercise.
In fact,
it has to comply with the order of the Madras High Court. There is no denying it. And as I said, I will not comment on the merits of the High Court's order, because that's between the High Court and the Supreme Court at this point. However, could this have been handled better in a slightly more delicate and sensitive fashion? I think the answer is a clear yes.
well, the Supreme Court has supplied that answer, saying that you can't let the army or the police into an institution like this, and if you have to go about it, send a judicial officer, he can visit the premises and gather the details linked to the case. So I think that the Supreme Court has also found a bit askance. But is there a basis to the conversion angle that you've referred to?
No, it's not speculative at all. Not at all speculative. Sadhguru's ashram sits alongside another institution And I don't wish to name any institution at this point. I know for a fact that that entire region has been in the grip of massive evangelical interest. Several groups with missionary zeal and spirit have been doing this for a long time now. I should know this. I have studied that for 4 years. I have enough friends from that region. I visit that place on a regular basis. So, in fact, one of the reasons this becomes crucial is that the ashram is fairly close to what we call Dakshina Kailash, which is a mountain called Velyangiri, where there is a Swayambhu Shivalingam. And I know for a fact this because I have visited this as a student. I've gone on foot. And April happens to be the important month when people actually undertake a pilgrimage to that place. So, if demographic balance shifts away from Hindu interest in such a sensitive area, where you have what we call as Dakshina Kailash, obviously, Sadhguru's presence has helped that particular situation by taking people back into the fold or preventing them from going away from the fold. Surely, it has stepped into, or it has affected a few people because he has come in the way of their activity. So this is not speculative whatsoever. Why don't we ask for a census in terms of what is the demographic composition there as far as the region is concerned? How was it a couple of years ago? How have we seen a drastic change? And how have we seen some kind of stemming of the drastic change because of his presence?
Okay, so let's just very quickly, I want to get a sense of how deep this penetration has been of this evangelism.
The coastal parts of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh have significant evangelical presence.
Right.
And they have systematically targeted communities for soul harvesting, specifically the fisherman community and tribal community, so on and so forth, under the garb of caste discrimination. They say they suffer from discrimination, therefore the only way out is to convert into Christianity. Or they take the position that Adivasis, or let's say the tribal people, are not fundamentally Hindus, so anybody can proceed to convert them into their faith. These are the kind of arguments that I've seen being projected on a regular basis. So, unfortunately, we haven't undertaken a census yet. It's been a while. After 2011, this country has not seen a census.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm sure the figures of Tamil Nadu, the figures of Andhra Pradesh, especially the coastal parts, will shock you to the core.
Well, I'm sure there are going to be more shocks awaiting us from Jharkhand, from Bengal, from Assam. I mean, the situation is a bit dire at some levels. Thank you, J-Sai Deepak. Thank you. Let's just get two quick views on this. P. Pullarao, senior journalist, joins us. And of course, there's Abhijit Iyer Mitra also. Mr. Pullarao, you know, there is this feeling, and you heard J-Sai Deepak, and he says that, look, after targeting the faith, Sanatan Dharma, the leading face of Sanatan Dharma is being targeted. Even the Supreme Court, if you look at its order, has said that, you know, you can't send an army of policemen into an ashram, into an institution like this. Why did the DMK have to make this into some kind of hunt for, you know, Osama bin Laden or something? Was this an attempt to try and... No, I mean, come on. Let's be...
Come on,
it's not, I'm saying this. The Supreme Court has found it very, very disturbing, sir. So let's not laugh it off.
Oh, let us see. What did the High Court say? The High Court gives... You should fight for
Sir,
the High
that's
Court.
immaterial. The Supreme Court has come in. Please.
No,
and it has said
it
that...
is not immaterial at all.
No, it is completely immaterial. The Supreme Court has stayed this entire
yeah, but
police action.
Said, why did the police go? What was the cause? I had to say what the High Court ordered them to do.
No, sir. The Supreme Court has actually taken exception. Please, hear me what I'm saying. This is what it has said. You can't let the army or the police into an institution like this. Judicial officer should have gone.
If the Supreme Court
no, you wanted to... No, listen, no, it's not the first time, okay? This is not the first time, and let's be honest.
No,
this has happened with Kanchi Shankaracharya.
Let me have a word.
No, you please have a word, but don't try to obfuscate the facts.
Otherwise, you talk, I'll listen.
No, you don't obfuscate the facts, please.
No, I am not obfuscating.
Okay, make your point.
You're not letting me talk.
Well, make your point.
Let me talk. Otherwise, there's no point. I am ready to listen.
Make your point.
I'm ready to listen to Mr. Iyer also. Basically, what the Supreme Court has said has reflected on the past actions of the Tamil Nadu government and the High Court order. The Supreme Court, if it felt so bad, could very well have taken suo motu action the day before. It did not. When it saw pictures, the High Court gave very strong orders on which the Supreme Court also commented. They also commented. the
What
High
did they
Court.
comment?
And they commented that this was, they did not want to condemn their own body. They condemned the action, but the action was based on what the judges ordered. If you read the speech of the judge, the pronouncements of the judges, yes, that's what they said. The spirit of the order, and I'm ready to be corrected. If you say the spirit of the order did not convey in fact, the lawyer
come on. Pull her out, please. Pull her out, please. Let's take a deep breath. Nowhere did the High Court say, send in a militia of 150, 200 police people. No, please, sir, you show it to me. Please show it to me.
No,
I'll give you 30 seconds. You show it to me. I'm bringing in Iyer Mitra. I'm bringing in Mr. Iyer Mitra. The High Court never said anything of the sort. It never said send in a whole posse of police. One second. Let me bring in Mr. Iyer Mitra. Listen, Pullarao, you can stretch an argument. I have no objection to it. But don't stretch the facts. This is a show called The Hard Facts. You want to get into the realm of rhetoric, go join other channels at the top of 9. I'm being very, very clear here. Please, this is what the Supreme Court has said, sir. Yes. One second, Mr. Iyer Mitra. Please. One second. Mr. Iyer Mitra.
Don't get carried away.
Mr. Iyer Mitra.
So, what is the issue out here? Two parents are upset that their daughters decided to become members of the Isha Foundation. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the parents have gone and in their case, they have come up with the most fantastical arguments that with zero evidence, by the way, that the Isha Foundation is drugging their food, they are brainwashing them, operating them like a cult, etc., etc. And listening to this, despite the fact that the two girls themselves were there, or two ladies, I think they're 30
they're
40,
women. Yes.
Ladies were there. And answering with a completely sound mind, the judges have said you need to go in and investigate. Now, I can make an equal claim that Dravidianism and the DMK are brainwashing and they are drug-induced brainwashing. Are they going to send troops into Arivalayam, 150 strong police into Arivalayam or into Sun TV or whatever, wherever Dayanidhi, Udayanidhi, whoever is staying right now, and start investigating them? There is something called a proportionate application of the law. You want to go to investigate what exactly? First of all, we don't even know what they were sent there to investigate. Is it drugs in the food? I can claim tomorrow that aliens have abducted me. True. This court will then say, please go to
on that point,
Pluto and go get this thing. There has been a very grave lapse in the application of mind in whatever the High Court has said. The Supreme Court has pointed that out. They have come down very harshly on the High Court.
Yeah, and I just want to say something on the point that you just made about whether they would have been so harsh against this, that, the other, the Marans or whatever it is. I just want to point out, viewers, that the Deputy Chief Minister was pulled up by the court for making a hate speech. And the implication was that a case would be filed. Viewers, no action has been taken. None. Despite the fact that the Supreme Court itself said that the Deputy Chief Minister had insulted a large number of Hindus. No action. Udayanidhi Stalin, no action, viewers. In fact, he's been made the Deputy Chief Minister of the state after that. Anyhow, let's move on. I want to go to the second part of this show. Thank you, Mr. Pullarao. But I just want to go to the second part. I know you won't be too surprised if I told you that the Congress party has attacked national icon Veer Savarkar, calling him a communalist and beef eater who did not oppose cow slaughter. You won't be surprised because trolling Savarkar sometimes with thin facts and broad slander has become quite the Congress thing. It has also been pulled up by the courts. Congress has effectively built Savarkar as the communal bogeyman in the secular liberal imagination. This is an effective ploy to consolidate the minority vote before elections. It's a cynical one. But you may flinch, viewers, a little if I told you that the same Congress, while slandering Savarkar, has gone on to give Jinnah a secular billing. That's right. Karnataka Congress Minister Dinesh Gundu Rao has in fact certified Jinnah the father of the two-nation theory, the man who wanted to create an exclusive preserve on the subcontinent for Muslims because he thought they couldn't get along with Hindus, as a secular modernist. Because, guess why, viewers? He ate pork. This is patently absurd logic. Is the Congress party trying to say that it regards only those Muslims who eat pork as modernists? Is the Congress party trying to say that those Muslims who don't eat pork are communalists, are in some way primitive? I mean, this low-grade discourse is offensive to Muslims, and all Muslims today should protest in unison. This is what Karnataka Minister Dinesh Gundu Rao has said. He said, quote, Savarkar was a Brahmin, but he ate beef and was a non-vegetarian. He did not oppose cow slaughter. In fact, he was quite a modernist on that topic. So, viewers, just think about it. If you eat beef as a Hindu and you oppose and you oppose in some ways, or you're pro in some ways, cow slaughter, you're a modern Hindu. Then he went on to say Savarkar was nationalist, but his fundamentalism is different from India's culture. Jinnah was a hardcore Islamist, with some claiming that he even ate pork. Jinnah became an icon for Muslims. He was never a fundamentalist, but Savarkar was. Now, the family of Veer Savarkar is livid and is threatening to sue the Congress party and its minister in Karnataka. Ranjit Savarkar, V.D. Savarkar's grandson, has said this is a strategy of Congress to defame Savarkar time and again, namely when elections are coming. Rahul Gandhi was doing it, and now his leaders are making statements. Congress wants to divide the Hindu society. This is like the British policy of divide and rule. I'm going to file a defamation suit, unquote. This is what the family is saying. The BJP has slammed the Congress for undermining a Bharatiya icon because it is blinded by its love for Pakistan. The Congress has stuck to its guns, but what do the hard facts say, viewers? And on this show, the hard facts rule, because I want you to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, viewers. Did Vinayak Damodar Savarkar support cow slaughter, and was he a fundamentalist? Here's the first hard fact. Savarkar described those who carried out cow slaughter as part of their dharma. In other words, he's alluding to Muslims and other faiths, as given to, quote, excessive barbarism, ingratitude, and an asuric or demonic instinct, unquote. And this has been catalogued by Vaibhav Purandare, the true story of father of Hindutva, in his book. Hard fact 2, quote, the cow is the sacred symbol of our national identity, and its protection is a bounden duty of every Hindu, unquote. This is Hindu Rashtra Darshan 1935 of Veer Savarkar. Hard fact 3, quote, the cow is not just an animal, but a mother, a symbol of our nation's prosperity and sincerity, unquote. Speech in Bombay in 1934, when Bombay was still referred to as Bombay. Hard fact 4, Hinduism and cow protection are inseparable. The Indian War of Independence 1909 that Savarkar penned. Hard fact 5, the protection of cow is a fundamental tenet of Hinduism, and its slaughter is a betrayal of our national heritage, unquote. Speech in Nagpur 1938. So clearly, viewers, clearly he was against cow slaughter. We must not only prevent cow slaughter, but also work towards eradicating the very idea of it from our society, unquote. And he wrote a letter to Gandhi in 1927. And of course, as you know, the Congress went on in independent India and passed a large number of legislations against cow slaughter. In fact, while Savarkar may have advocated for a Hindu Rashtra, but he did not intend it to be a Hindu Rajya. There's a difference. A Hindu state or a religious theocracy where there was no place for religions. A nation as opposed to a state. How can I say this? This is Veer Savarkar in his own words. Let the Indian state be purely Indian. Let it not recognize any invidious distinctions whatsoever as regard the franchise, public service offices, taxation on the grounds of religion and race. Let no cognizance be taken whatsoever of man, being Hindu or Muslim, Christian, Sikh or Jew. Let all citizens be treated according to their individual worth, irrespective of religious or racial percentage in the general population, unquote. Go look up Lok Sabha Secretariat, the Parliament papers there, February 2003, and you'll see this, viewers. 2003. And now, what about Jinnah? Is the Congress right in labeling him secular? Let's turn to the hard facts once again. These suggest that Jinnah was communal and had begun to also espouse a theocratic vision for the Pakistani state. Here's a hard fact 1 on the nature of what the Pakistani state should be like. Jinnah on 25th January 1948 in an address to the Karachi Bar Association declared that 1300 years ago the issue was solved and the Pakistan constitution would be framed in the light of Islamic Sharia. It's not the words of a fundamentalist, viewers. It's the word of a theocrat. And they are saying that Veer Savarkar was a fundamentalist. Hard fact 2. Islam is not only a religious doctrine but also a code of conduct, a way of life, unquote. Speech at Lahore, 1940, before independence. You know what followed after the Lahore Declaration, viewers. Hard fact 3. Quote, Pakistan was created to provide a homeland for Muslims where they could live according to their own laws and traditions. This is a broadcast to the people of the United States in 1948. In sharp contrast to what Savarkar said. Viewers, it is preposterous that this claim has been made to besmirch a Bharatiya icon but raise the level of a complete theocrat. So what if you ate some pork? Let's open this up. Let's ask some questions. And I want to first begin with Tehseen Poonawalla. And Pradeep Bhandari is here with us. Tehseen Poonawalla, the Congress wants to hug Pakistani generals. The Congress wants to call Pakistani prime ministers Greek gods. The Congress wants to talk and open trade links with the same Pakistan that is hosting right now as we speak a demonic character who tried to divide India called Zakir Naik, a hate preacher that's wanted by the Indian law. The Congress party also now, like one particular BJP leader who paid the price because the BJP itself punished him. Today the Congress party, which criticized Jinnah, is celebrating this man as a great secular leader. What's gone wrong with the Congress party?
Rahul, good evening. Thank you for having me on the show. The onset a very happy Navaratri to all my fellow panelists, to all your viewers, and to you and your family as well. Jinnah is not, was not, can ever be secular. He can never be the hero for any Indian ever. And the only person to go down on his mazar and do sajda and call him secular in Pakistan was the then BJP president L.K. Advani. And I do accept that the BJP took action against him. The only person to write books eulogizing Jinnah was BJP leaders. The only people that call ISI into Pathankot on the dead bodies of our strong, brave, energy soldiers was the present Indian Union government. They call the ISI filth into India. Those who have attacked us. Zakir Naik is an Indian citizen, a man of hate who spreads venom. He's still an Indian citizen, wanted in Pakistan. And yes, I do aspire for my nation to be a superpower. Look at what Israel did to that Nasrallah and where they sent him. An Indian state has not even raised an objection to an Indian citizen being hugged and kissed and celebrated by Pakistan. I am telling you, Pradeep is here, one of the most erudite BJP spokesperson. Tell him to go and tell Amit Shah ji and Modi ji to step down if they can't run the government.
Okay.
You need powerful people to run the government. This is a weak government, and as I say, it is spine for molten necklace.
At least Tehseen Poonawalla has had the gumption to come out and differ with the Congress Mantri's point of view, Pradeep Bhandari. Yes. But what he didn't tell us, and he accepts that the BJP took action against L.K. Advani, removed him from his presidentship. He had to go. And he was pretty much cast into oblivion after that. We know that. But he will not answer whether the Congress will take action against Gundu Rao, the minister there. Pradeep Bhandari.
Rahul, thank you so much for having me on your show, and Navratri greetings to all your viewers. May Ma Shailputri protect everybody in the country. Rahul, just to come on the main point, Veer Savarkar was an unalloyed nationalist, an unapologetic Hindu, and he stood for everything wrong which was with the Congress party, in particular Jawaharlal Nehru, which was the vote bank politics. Veer Savarkar reminded this country that vote bank politics will be a sin. Nehru did not listen. Still today we are suffering from this vote bank politics compulsion. Veer Savarkar spoke about a strong India. Veer Savarkar envisioned a threat of China, envisioned a threat of Pakistan. Nehru did Hindi Chini bhai bhai, and Nehru had a weak strategy towards Pakistan. In fact, Veer Savarkar was such big a patriot, Rahul, that Bhagat Singh in his Young Liberation in October 1928 writes Vinayak Savarkar as poet of patriotism and prophet of nationalism. and a life of an Indian revolutionary leader. The Congress party, Rahul, Genesis, hates every patriotic revolutionary leader, whether it is Bhagat Singh, whether it is Subhash Chandra Bose, whether it is Veer Savarkar, or whether it is any leader who was not from the Gandhi-Nehru dynasty. That is the essence of the problem. Now let me come to point number 2, which is what Tehseen said. Tehseen should be reminded of the fact that Digvijay Singh hugged Zakir Naik. It was in the time of the Congress party. Here you have a UAPA charge against Zakir Naik. That is point number 2. Point number 3, Tehseen spoke about what Israel did to Nasrullah. The Congress party opposed the surgical strike which was done by the Bharatiya Janata Party led government, backed by our force, completely done by our forces, backed by a strong government. It is the Congress party which questions our forces. So Tehseen should call Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who makes the people of India, always question our national patriotism, and tell Mr. Rahul Gandhi to stand with national integrity. And let me tell you, Rahul, that the Congress party right now is in the hand of extreme left fringe. If you remember very, very clearly, Indira Gandhi, at least to an extent, had to write a letter and said that Veer Savarkar is the proud Indian son. And Veer Savarkar envisioned, and he had famously quoted and said, Pakistan ke do tukde honge, and that is what had happened. But in particular, Rahul Gandhi is doing everything which is purely and purely vote bank. And I tell you, Rahul, you spoke about hard fact. The hard fact here is that the Congress party will never ever back a freedom fighter who was not from the Nehru lineage. That is the essence of the problem, because the Nehru lineage is a vote bank lineage.
One second. Abhijit,
just one correction.
No, 1 second. I'll come back. I'll come back to it.
Just less than 10 seconds. Nehru ji not only met Bhagat Singh in jail, Bhagat Singh ji refused legal representation, but more importantly, Subhash Chandra Bose named a unit of his army after Nehru ji. You come on TV and say anything about Nehru ji, the man who spent the most amount of...
this is not about Nehru.
Baba Saheb Ambedkar Bharat Ratna for years.
Yeah, this is not about Nehru. This is not about Nehru. Let's not get
Nehru
diverted. No, just 1 second. This is not about Nehru. This is about Savarkar. This is about Savarkar. This is about the lies that are spread about Savarkar. This is about a Congress party who said that Savarkar took money, pensions, from the British. So did the Bose brothers, viewers. Will the Congress now stand up and call them cowards? Where were the Bose brothers? They were in the Congress party. There were other leaders of the Congress, viewers, who took stipends from the British. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, if anyone that is doing Hindu-Muslim today in this country, some people are accusing the Congress of it. Do you agree with me, or do you feel that I am wrong here?
Look, the person who has said it specifically fits the category of people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. All right. Dinesh Gundu Rao's wife Tabassum is a Muslim. I think he needs to first answer if she eats pork, because if not, what does that make him and her? Realistically, are they members of ISIS if they don't eat pork? Is this the standard of religious loyalty we've come down to in this country? Are they backward people? So, Dinesh of all people shouldn't have opened his mouth on this subject. All right, number 1. Number 2, Savarkar, at some point, we need to understand, I don't know why people don't get this. You see, the Hindutva movement has had 3 separate strands to it. The first is the progressive socialistic strand, which was Savarkar, who wanted, social change to be shoved down people's throats. The second was the conservative strand under Hedgewar, who believed that society had to be made ready bottoms up for social change. And the third are the trads who have been irrelevant nobodies, nonsense people on the fringes of Hindutva, who have never won a single election within Hindutva, and mostly start off calling themselves, Hindutvavadis, but end up going to the Congress, voting Congress or becoming Congress MPs and things like that. Now, did Savarkar support beefeating at one point in his life? Absolutely, yes. All right. He did say at one point that this was indeed, it was foolish for Hindutva to pin itself on beefeating. He evolved his views. Not everybody is like a Bangalore-based fact checker whose brain is constantly stuck in the 7th century, you see. People evolve even during their lifetimes. I mean, there's a certain community that hasn't evolved since the 7th century, but other people evolve during their lifetimes. I used to be a communist. I am now a capitalist. I used to hate Israelis and Jews at one point. Now I like them a lot. This kind of a lack of mental evolution, this kind of ossification. It shows the ossification of Dinesh Gundu Rao and his party.
Yeah,
They support this. Remember, they financially support the fact checker in Bangalore. Let's not forget that. They coordinate with him.
No, people
So
do
this is
evolve.
only
You're
natural.
right. People evolve. I mean, look at Rajiv Gandhi opposed the caste census and his son bats for it like there is no tomorrow. Clearly, someone has evolved. I don't know if one has regressed or the other one evolved, but certainly someone went back in time or someone went forward in time. I can't say. In fact, if I were an objective viewer, I would say that Rahul Gandhi has gone back in time. But nonetheless, Mr. Abbas, I want to ask you, you live in Karnataka. I want to ask you, you are an Indian Muslim, a patriotic Indian Muslim. Is Jinnah a hero for you? Would you categorize him as a secular figure because he ate pork?
I'm so glad, Rahul Sahab, that you asked me this question. My friend Tehseen here is very well aware of my stand on Jinnah. Jinnah is somebody I do not look up to and highly condemn. He divided
In
India
fact, I remember
for his own selfish reason.
when
Allow
in
me to
Aligarh,
complete.
no, I remember when in Aligarh Muslim University they put up the portrait of Jinnah. I remember you being on the show and saying, I will
Yes,
not
I condemned
accept
it.
this.
I condemned it.
Yeah.
Absolutely wrong to do that because a man of his own selfish political reasons divided my beautiful country of India. That is my stand on Jinnah. Now coming to the good question.
No, but so I'm
Rahul,
asking you,
I think
should
to
Mr.
be on
Gundu Rao,
television-
does Mr. Gundu Rao make an impression on you or should he be sacked forthwith by the
Now,
Congress
with
party?
respect to Dinesh Gundu Rao, Mr. Abhijit Iyer Mitra stated the same thing. He said that yes, there are records, there are documents which say that Mr. Savarkar was not averse to eating beef. Abhijit Iyer Mitra is a responsible man, and Rahul Shivshankar, how do you allow this man to come on television and say there is one community which has not evolved? I dare you to name the community Abhijit Iyer Mitra. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say
No,
the Muslim
Mr.
community has
Abbas,
not
you
evolved?
misunderstood him.
There's
What
only
he-
one
why don't you
that
come
goes
in?
around
Why
the
don't you
area.
come in?
Record.
No, this
How
is a
can you
very
allow
clever
that now?
attempt now to try and
You
change the
might-
discourse.
you
Please
might-
come in.
No,
No, please let him come in. Let him
Which
clarify.
community are you talking
You've
about,
asked,
Abhijit
let him
Mitra?
clarify. Let him clarify. Let
Yeah,
him clarify.
clarify.
Let him clarify. Yes.
There was beef in the Tirupati Laddu. Did you see anybody getting
Which
beheaded?
community? Clarify.
I'm coming, darling. Quiet. Now my turn to talk. On the other hand, when there was some insult to the Nabi 2 years back, one member of your community put out the call. Everybody came out on the street with Sartan Se Juda.
Now, can I
That was
answer
your
that?
Can I
community,
ask you?
Jose.
No, one second.
Can I
Can
your
I ask you?
community?
Can I ask you?
Do
One
you
second, Mr.
remember the
Abbas.
video? Do you remember the video of the tailor having his
Please
head
ask me.
lopped off on TV?
Can I?
No,
Can
one
I?
second,
Do you
Mr.
remember the
Abbas.
video?
One second, Mr.
You remember
Abbas.
the video?
Gentlemen, one second. One second. Look, we don't want to make this communal, but Mr. Abbas, I think if you have a problem, you should have a problem with Mr. Gundu Rao, who says that Jinnah was a modernist because he used to eat pork. Are you, sir, not a modernist, Mr. Abbas?
Okay. Now let me
Please
answer.
answer.
that. Let me-
Don't you think
let
this
me
is
answer.
objectionable to an Indian
Let me
Muslim
answer that.
because you
Let me answer
because
that.
you don't eat pork, you are supposedly living in some last century and you're not a modernist? Isn't that bizarre?
Now let me answer that.
And why should
let
you
me
take
answer
it
that.
on?
Rahul Sahab.
Why
Rahul
don't you
Sahab,
take
now
it
it's
on,
clear,
Mr. Abbas?
It's clear on your show, it's clear on CNN, on your show, on record, that Abhijit Iyer Mitra has stated that the Muslim community has not evolved. Let
This
that
is-
be on
this is
record.
wrong.
And since
Please, this is
1857,
wrong.
you have not evolved. You
No,
are
no,
a
one
Indian
second,
One
community.
second, Mr.
Absolutely.
Abbas. Mr.
You
Abbas,
are-
don't do
You
this.
are
Don't do this
completely
tonight.
controlled
No one
by
has said.
feudal
One
lords,
second.
gundas and
Ayyar
third-rate
Mitra, one
apparatchiks.
second. Ayyar Mitra, 1 second. Let me first tell you, viewers, that the words are being twisted here out of proportion. And even Tehseen will testify that words are being
Tehseen,
twisted
please
here out of
testify.
proportion.
Tehseen,
Tehseen,
please
why don't
testify,
you step
Tehseen.
in? No, let's ask Tehseen.
You are a feudal
He's also there.
polity.
No, 1 second.
You
Let's
are
not
a
get into
feudal
name calling.
polity.
Let's settle this issue. Tehseen Punala, I think what he was trying to say was that if you go by Mr. Gundu Rao's logic, then one whole community is not evolved because they don't eat pork. That's what he was saying.
He did mention that.
1 second,
I
one
think-
second. 1 second, Mr. Abbas.
I've known Abhijit for the longest time, and Abhijit would never attack any community. But I'm very disappointed, Abhijit, that at one point he was a communist. I've lost complete respect for you on that count.
Okay.
You know that.
So
I've told you that before.
I'm glad, Tehseen, you've set the record
that
straight.
count, respect
No,
is
I'm
gone.
very
No, it
happy
doesn't
that
mean-
you've set the record straight. This was a malicious attempt, viewers, at distracting from the subject at hand. But I just want to come back. I want to come back very quickly to Tehseen Punala. Tehseen Punala, you also have distanced yourself from Mr. Gundu Rao. You said that LK Advani paid the price. Will Mr. Gundu Rao pay the price?
I just think that there are Maharashtra elections. I think we must keep politics and icons like Nehruji, Bhagat Singh ji, and Savarkar ji out of politics. That's my advice to everybody. People evolve over time. People have different views.
Should action be taken? A show cause be issued? Just asking.
Well, I think people have different views, and if we start attacking people for their views, then we should attack the present
Pradeep
government
Bhandari.
for getting eyesight
Just-
to
Okay.
Pathankot.
See, it's
Different
very-
views.
They should be attacked for getting eyesight to Pathankot.
See, I respect Tehseen a lot, but it's too rich of Tehseen to say that Congress party took care of Subhash Chandra Bose. They openly opposed the India Gate statue. They spied on his family. They never acknowledged that he was the first, Azad Hind Fauj was the first Fauj, and he was the first Indian Prime Minister. So let's not go towards Bose. I can go forward, but it's a hard fact. No, my point is,
Pradeep,
Rahul,
quickly,
Rahul
I
Gandhi.
just want to add just one thing. Remember, Gandhi made Mohandas Karamchand made Bose's presidency miserable, forcing him to resign.
Okay, let's look.
He
I
destroyed
don't-
Bose's
Rahul,
look,
just
I'm
a
not going to
15
underscore all of that,
seconds.
but yes, very quickly.
Yeah,
15
Rahul,
seconds, yes.
anybody who appeases and follows Jinnah's strategy of divide and rule is promoted in the Congress party. You look at the policy of the Karnataka Congress party. The chief minister in his earlier term tried to divide the Lingayat vote. He was promoted to again be the chief minister. If you remember his alliance partner, Udaynidhi Stalin, he said that Sanatan is dengue, malaria, aid. No action and no word was from the Congress party. So the bigger the appeaser, the more you follow Jinnah's strategy, the more will you be promoted in the Congress party.
I just want to know.
Tell me one
one
person
second.
who's
Whether the
more-
UBT
yes.
Shiv Sena, what is their position today? The Thakres, what are they thinking today as their own icon, self-professed icon, Abhijit Iyer Mitra is being pulled down to the level that he has been by a minister in the Karnataka Congress. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Watch tomorrow. We'll come back with another big edition and some exclusive footage.